design this building, and to us that's a big thing. We actually started the trend on campus where now all the other buildings that are being built and designed are all LEED. So yay for the School of Architecture and Planning.
Thank you so much, Dean. As she laid out for you, this would not have been possible without the Provost Faculty Development Grant, which had the support of our Dean and both our chairs, Dr. Siddhartha Sen and Professor Paul Woos. So we are very grateful for their support. Baltimore is a city deferred no more. Baltimore is a dream deferred no more. We are referring to the dream, we are listening to it, Mr. Hughes. A big shout out to the women in trenches who make this happen also, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, Delegate Mary Washington, and our Mayor Catherine Pugh. And today, the Director of Baltimore City of Planning, Tom Stosur. In my past 4 years here in Baltimore, I have seen Tom as a steward of many greening initiatives. It's like, which is not very common for a lot of other cities. And I truly appreciate that a city has that kind of thinking and sensibility at the helm of city planning. So without much delay, I would like to invite the steward himself. Tom, thank you for coming.
Of our brochure, which is on the table in the back, and it features the green spaces in a fun way and with the theme of connecting Baltimore. And we are very excited. We've been in so far about a year-long planning process, public planning process, for our Green Network Plan. And leading up to that really took a few years of research and lobbying and fundraising and everything else to get the plan launched. And we have numerous stakeholders from the city, state, and federal agencies, nonprofits, foundations, development professionals, and of course community representatives are working with us to develop a vision really for increasing and enhancing green spaces across the city, and particularly using those as a means of revitalizing neighborhoods. We've been able to hire a consultant team led by Biohabitats, who I understand is here today as well to make some remarks later on. And they're leading an analysis for us of the best opportunities, emphasizing particularly those places where vacant and abandoned property in the city can be repurposed as new green assets. So with that, let me give you a little more background about what the plan is all about. We really want to spread the benefits of green infrastructure across the city to improve the environment, neighborhood quality of life, and to help spur revitalization and investment. And this particular slide, this doesn't work on those kind of screens, does it? That's okay. It shows, I can talk through it, the outer edges of the city, maybe 2/3, have a fairly generous spread of green infrastructure in the form of our stream valleys, major city parks, and trails, and of course tree canopy as well. But as you look into the core of the city in the very middle, there's more of a distinct lack of that type of green infrastructure. And we know that there's many different benefits of green infrastructure overall, from environmental to tax base and home values, energy, reducing heat island effect, other public health benefits, reducing asthma. So it's something we think not only in terms of beautification, but of serving multiple purposes that are necessary to high quality of life. So this slide takes that same image of the city and superimposes on it our vacant and abandoned property. And you can see that, and that's the orange dots, there are 30,000 of those parcels that are either vacant land, vacant lots, or vacant buildings throughout the city. And they are focused much in that same area that's lacking the green infrastructure that the rest of the city enjoys. So we really see this as a terrific opportunity to promote transformation of some of our most challenged neighborhoods by eliminating blight and replacing it with a variety of permanent and temporary green spaces. So what are the objectives of the Green Network Plan? Well, we're really looking to create a bold vision that many, many different constituencies can support and get around to transform the vacant and abandoned properties into community assets. And we're working on a series of, with our consultants, of developing a vision that is organized around nodes and corridors. And we're putting the, I think, final touches on what that initial release will look like, and we're going to be announcing very shortly some public meetings later in May where those will be put out for public comment. But we also want this, beyond being a vision, to be able to be more specific and provide a blueprint for turning some of those selected properties into things like parks, gardens, urban farms, open space, and future development sites to benefit residents, promote economic development, and make Baltimore communities both more connected and more sustainable. And with the establishment of a blueprint like that, we would like to coordinate the efforts and the resources of many other partners and initiatives to create the multiple benefits that the green infrastructure can really provide and leverage resources to the maximum amount. There's a lot of people doing greening work in Baltimore, but to date, a lot of it is happening in maybe what's expedient for one constituency or one neighborhood, but it's not part of a larger vision. So that's what we're really trying to encourage with this plan. I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of what we mean by Green Network. The green part of Green Network refers to replacing blight and vacancy with improved spaces. And really, it's what planners refer to, I think, as placemaking. That's one aspect of it. And green in this context can mean spaces that are active, like football fields, plaza or civic space, playground, a dog park, a horseshoe pit, a whole variety of different types. Green can also mean landscaped or naturalized spaces, like a wildflower garden or a forest patch with tall trees to provide shade, or an urban square with a fountain, even a meditation garden with sculptures and public art. All of those are viable green places that we'd like to encourage in our neighborhood. And it can also be productive green spaces, like community gardens or urban farms, places that might host farmers markets on a weekly basis, green space that captures rain and runoff and filters it before it goes back into the bay. In some spots, maybe it could even be places for community solar, for acres of pollution-free energy production. A lot of places, we simply hope it will be maintained lawn area that will provide space for future redevelopment opportunities. So all of those types of things are potential for green in our Green Network Plan. And then there's the network part of it, and that really primarily refers to the connections. That can take the form of everything from a generous tree canopy lining a sidewalk on a busy boulevard to a bike path that leads to your neighborhood cafe, or a school, or a hiking trail next to a stream. It could be walking, jogging, and biking on safe landscaped parkways, socializing with neighbors and friends while you get in shape. And it means providing safe, attractive, and maintained routes to the grocery store, the bus stop, or the library for all of our neighborhood residents. So that makes up part of that essential aspect of what a green network needs to be. This next slide is courtesy, actually the next couple slides, of Air St. Gross, illustrating a little more tangibly maybe what the green network could look like on the ground. So this is the Amtrak line coming in from New York City into East Baltimore, and it's a place where, you know, many people have pointed out that some of the views from the train as you're coming in are not that attractive. So we can see a bunch of vacant and underutilized parcels. They're outlined in green. This is near the East Baltimore Development Initiative area north of Johns Hopkins. So this is what it looks like today, and with green network type of treatment, again, conceptually, this is the type of treatment that could happen, including things like plazas, landscaped boulevards and medians, farms, hoop houses, and parks. So I like this illustration a lot because I think it really shows the transformation potential of if we really do focus our resources for a bigger impact. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of folks that are involved in this process, and we've brought them on to provide input into the plan. We've created a leadership team that has many of these representatives from state, local, federal government, from our nonprofits, including Blue Water Baltimore, who's here, Living Classrooms, Chesapeake Bay Trust, Philanthropies, and the development community as well. The Urban Land Institute has been a player, as well as Morgan. So we're happy to have all these folks involved. Let's bring you up to date on where we're at now. Biohabitats has worked extensively with our staff on doing a site suitability analysis to see where are the biggest opportunities to provide green infrastructure where right now it's lacking. And those are the pink areas you see, again, mainly in the core of the city outside of downtown and some up into Northwest and the Park Heights neighborhood. So what we've done with those pink areas is identify 4 different areas that we're focusing on, and we're cleverly calling those focus area plans. And that's in East Baltimore, the Broadway East neighborhood, in West Baltimore, Sandtown, Winchester, and Harlem Park. Central is Druid Heights, Upton, and Penn North. And in Southwest, Shipley Hill, Carrollton Ridge, and Boyd Booth. We've been conducting community-based charrettes with each of those neighborhoods to come up with a potential vision for what a green network could look like in those areas, how it could hook up to the larger green infrastructure already available in the city. And we've also are identifying potential initial pilot projects that could be done for a quick, visible sort of progress marker to start to change the paradigm in those neighborhoods and build towards this larger green network plan. We've also, in addition to that, to the leadership team that's been meeting, we've established several subcommittees to deal with outreach and engagement. The Land Use and Design Group is spearheading this focus area charrette process. We have also subcommittees looking at funding and financing and implementation, because just doing a plan without an implementation strategy is not going to get us very far. So again, the main components of the plan is a big vision plan that is going to outline those nodes and corridors throughout the city, identify some specific opportunities to zero in on, and those initial places are the focus area plans I just mentioned, where we're doing those charrettes, and then we're making recommendations about how to implement what comes out of the vision and the focus areas and prioritize some of the initial projects. Look at not only the pilot projects, but what do we need to put in place to make this a sustainable endeavor over time? Because again, we are dealing with 30,000 vacant and abandoned properties. And we don't think by any means that all of that needs to be or should be permanent green space, but we do think that greening can be an initial step to remove blight and to start to build some assets around which future development can be targeted. So a little bit more about those green network nodes and corridors. We're defining so far nodes as neighborhood hubs where people and nature meet. They are softer, greener outdoor gathering spaces for recreation, resting, community events, and improved habitat. They may have trees, benches, murals, native plants, and flowers that attract people, birds, and butterflies. And they are destinations, and the nodes are connected to one another by corridors. And to describe a little bit about the corridors, they're green, linear spaces that provide safe, comfortable movement within and between neighborhoods for both humans and wildlife. They may be tree-lined streets providing shade and cooling, or streams, trails, blue alleys, or boulevards that connect parks and open space to activity centers like schools and neighborhood retail districts. These corridors connect residents to nature and neighborhoods to one another. And here's a little bit of a visual of some of the focus area charrettes we've been doing with communities in different parts of the city, and some initial areas for pilot projects that we've begun to identify in the various focus area plans. So some of them are in Harlem Park, for instance. We're looking at, there's a history of a series of inner block parks that were developed over time, and Parks and People have begun to transform some of those parks into stormwater management types of facilities, as well as just beautified. Right there, a lot of them, they've been there since the 60s and 70s. They're a bunch of now broken up pavement and sometimes very weedy and unattractive lots. And the transformation they've done in terms of greening some of them as naturalized areas with enhanced landscaping, as well as civic gathering places, is truly remarkable, and we'd like to build on some of that to create a larger network through Harlem Park. As one example of one of the pilot projects we want to undertake. As far as the recommendations, they focus on administrative aspects. What is the entity that either needs to be enhanced or created to make these projects and investments a reality? And one of the big things we have to be conscious of is maintenance. Overall, the city's not known for having a great reputation for maintaining existing green spaces, particularly if they're scattered vacant lots. So we really need to raise the standard on that. We've been working with a lot of the nonprofits and community associations to identify barriers to implementation. It could be permit processes, it could be funding, it just could be a lack of coordination. So we're trying to be very specific about what those are and the steps we need to mitigate those. And finally, the funding and financing is a very big piece of it. Again, we have funds in the housing department for demolition and blight removal. We have funds in DPW for maintenance and stormwater management. We have funds in rec and parks for doing parks and maintenance of those spaces, funds in Department of Transportation, but everybody is just sort of doing what they're strictly responsible for and doing that to various degrees of effectiveness. And when we want to be basically promoting this project as something that's going to raise the quality of life and improve standards, we really have to deliver on how that is going to be managed and implemented. So we're putting a lot of effort into that and working with those agencies and other projects so we can hopefully target some of those dollars towards initial implementation and move that schedule up so that people can start to see visible differences as soon as possible. And that's my presentation. So thank you for your attention. I think there's a real emphasis with this mayor and with a lot of people now in the city that we need to make sure investment and revitalization is happening across the city, and particularly in places that have not been part of the latest building booms and investments. And we want to rebuild those places. We want to improve the quality of life. We want to preserve what we can, but we also know Baltimore's population has declined, and we need some new opportunities for new green spaces, new investment, new residential, jobs for people, making the green spaces, maintaining the green spaces, deconstructing the houses that might need to be brought down, and jobs, connecting them to jobs, whether it's in bike paths or with a better MTA system or hopefully better transit overall in the city. There's just a lot of opportunity that needs to be spread, and I think that's one of the objectives of this Green Network Plan, to give people hope, to give people promise, to start somewhere, to change the paradigm of disinvestment that's been going on and show some visible change. So that's one of the reasons I think this is really important, and I think it can lead to a better quality of life, improved health, more job opportunities, and just a better outcome for people in Baltimore and in these disinvested neighborhoods.